Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 5th of March, 2021. Alright everyone, let's get into the news from the last 24 hours. So, a nice thread here from Token Terminal actually, and for those who don't know, tokenterminal.com is basically a website that tracks various kind of metrics got to do with different protocols and their assets that are tied to them and things like that. Specifically like DeFi protocols and layer 1s. But so today they announced that they've added MetaMask to Token Terminal, so you can actually see how much kind of revenue MetaMask is making now. And as you can see in the screenshot here, or on the chart here, that my camera might be blocking a little bit, unfortunately, but basically, you can see that MetaMask is doing, some really great volume, or it's really great revenue lately. And for those who don't know, this is because they have a swaps feature now. So if you actually go to MetaMask and kind of like click on swap on there, it's basically a decentralized exchange aggregator, and you can kind of do a swap through them. And this is where this revenue is coming from, because they obviously take a fee off the top of that, which is actually pretty insane. I mean, their growth here, you can't really see it because my camera's covering it, but basically in October it was essentially zero, and since then it's been growing. And currently, or at least for February, it was about $4.7 million worth of revenue just for February, which is huge, right? That's massive. Like, MetaMask wasn't really making any money before they introduced this, and now they're making millions of dollars a month in revenue, which is really cool to see. And a lot of people have theorized that MetaMask are probably going to have a token, at some point. I've said it myself as well that I think they might have a token. They've definitely, at least spoken about it. I would assume so. And the fact that they're generating revenue now, I guess it will. They don't really need a token, right? Because, they could just like keep generating this revenue and just be a real kind of like traditional business, right? Without a token, because they're a subsidy of consensus, or at least they're still part of consensus. So, I'm not sure a token kind of like makes sense there, but if they were to do a token, then potentially the token holders would have like a claim on these kind of fees and things like that. You could imagine that being kind of part of it. But yeah, definitely some really great growth here from MetaMask, and I'm curious to see, because if they actually do a token, the only way they can do a kind of like retroactive airdrop, which is like all the rage these days, is by kind of like seeing who actually used the MetaMask swaps feature, because I don't think there's any other way to actually tell kind of like who used MetaMask and what addresses were kind of used with MetaMask to kind of airdrop it that way. And obviously like airdropping it to everyone, like say you take like all Ethereum addresses and you airdrop Mask tokens to them, or at least all Ethereum addresses with a balance of ETH. That doesn't really work too well. We saw that played in 2017. It's just it's not great at the end of the day. But yeah, still interesting to see these kind of MetaMask stats here. There's more than just this chart. I mean, there's a whole thread here where Token Terminal goes through the different metrics and what they mean. So you can definitely go check that out. It'll be linked in the YouTube description here. But yeah, this is just awesome to see. I mean, we have like a lot of these open source projects that have been, I guess, like adding a ton of value to the Ethereum ecosystem. Without MetaMask, I don't think Ethereum would have gotten to where it is today, to be honest. I mean, MetaMask is still a wallet that I use frequently on desktop. And it's still a wallet that a lot of people use. They have over 1 million monthly active users, probably more than that now. And MetaMask isn't just Ethereum, right? It can support all types of networks, all, I guess, like types of EVM compatible networks, right? It supports Matic, it will support layer 2. I mean, I spoke about it yesterday, and I've actually got it here, an update from MetaMask here about, and I'll just talk about that now, about how I spoke about yesterday, how they added basically a new feature where if you go to a site that requires, a new app or whatever that requires a different network to the Ethereum mainnet, it can actually prompt you in MetaMask to tell you to switch your network over. So that actually got released today, and it's available to all Firefox and Chrome users as well. So yeah, really cool updates out of MetaMask here. I'm curious to see if any of the other kind of like, I guess, like public goods, open source tools that, that go this route where they make money, in some other way rather than issuing a token sort of thing. Because a token, I guess, is good, but it doesn't make sense for every kind of project. And I'm excited to see more projects experiment with just traditional kind of like business models rather than just issuing a token. So a really great piece here from Barabé. So that for those who don't know, Barabé works in the Robust Incentives group at the Ethereum Foundation. And what this group is, it basically does a lot of analysis around, I guess, like they've done analysis on EIP 1559, they've done analysis on ETH2 and the rewards there, and a bunch of different stuff. So he posted a blog post today, well, basically to his newsletter. You can actually subscribe to this. It'll be in the YouTube description. Talking about how in EIP 1559, there's better bidding because bids take a variable reference price, helping you kind of like stay afloat here. Now, obviously, I'm not going to read out the whole piece here, but I think just a general theme here is that everyone's excited about 1559 because of the fee burn, right? I mean, that's pretty much like the only thing I hear about it. But the real benefits are definitely the UI and UX benefits. Or I guess like, sorry, the user experience benefits in general. Like, when you kind of like set a gas fee today on the network, and you kind of like set it, and then the network's kind of like getting ahead of itself, and the gas fees are high, and you try to kind of like outbid other people, and then it just becomes like a kind of race to outbid each other. And a gas price that you put in that maybe you saw Rapid on like the extension here, maybe you saw that Rapid, oh, you can't see it on the video, but basically Rapid is like, say it's 140 and you put in 140 so you can get in rapidly, and then Rapid spikes up in the same block or in the same 15 seconds before the block happens, and then your transaction doesn't get mined. 1559 helps with that. And I've discussed, the other benefits of it as well. Obviously, the fee burning. Obviously, the fact that it allows for basically an on-chain gas oracle for different smart contracts to use as well, and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming in 1559 that is completely outside of the fee burn. I think the fee burn is just like the cherry on top at the end of the day. But obviously, the fee burn is a strong narrative, right? Where people are like, this is going to be good for the ETH price, which logically it should be long term, right? And it's good that the value is coming back to ETH holders rather than just going purely to miners or in the future stakers. So yeah, really, really cool on that front. But you definitely go give this blog post a read. It gives you a better insight into how, this particular kind of feature of 1559 works, why you should be excited about it, what usability it's going to bring to you. So definitely go check it out. So an interesting tweet here from Samyak from Instadapp, and I'll read out the tweet. He says, shower thought, use layer 1 AMM liquidity for layer 2 AMM, ? With Balancer Labs V2 using the asset manager, it can allocate a small part of the asset for the L2 AMM to kickstart the AMM environment in L2 without the need for any liquidity provider on L2. So I spoke about this, I guess like maybe last week on the Refuel, about how Balancer V2 is going to have this kind of I guess like vault, you can call it, where all the assets sit, and then the idle assets in there can be kind of like put into different protocols. So I guess the concept here is to use that to put it into like a layer 2, and basically you kind of get the liquidity from layer 1 onto layer 2 to kind of bootstrap the layer 2 ecosystem, the dormant kind of liquidity on layer 1, which I think is really important, because when thinking about layer 2 in general, and when thinking about kind of how that ecosystem is going to develop, you've got kind of like, I guess maybe 2 or 3 choices here. The first choice would be like as a project, and if you want to bootstrap liquidity, you do a liquidity mining program, right? You just basically say you're Uniswap, and you put Uniswap on layer 2, and then you say, hey, if you can't provide liquidity, you can earn Uni rewards, and that'd be a fast way to get liquidity. But you're paying Uni tokens to do it, right? And there's no guarantee that liquidity is going to stay once the tokens run out. Second option is that you just hope that people naturally kind of come onto layer 2, move and provide liquidity because they're seeking refuge from layer 1. I don't know if that's going to be a kind of like something that happens from the get-go, because it took a long time for layer 1 DeFi protocols to get to that point. I think you will kind of need some incentive, whether that be a liquidity mining program or something else. So I don't think option 2 works that well if you want to bootstrap it really quickly. And then option 3 is this, obviously, right? Where you can use, I guess, like the layer 1 AMM liquidity on layer 2 if you're Balancer V2, or I'm sure Uni V3 will probably have something like this as well. And there's a bunch of other protocols that you can basically use for this too. So yeah, those are, I guess, kind of your 3 options. There's probably more that I might not be thinking about. But if you really want, like, I guess the fastest way to kind of bootstrap liquidity on kind of layer 2, this seems to work, but only in specific cases. I think what's even faster than this is liquidity mining programs, and we're going to see that play out. Synthetix has already done it with their layer 2 with Optimism, where they're actually paying the SNX stakers in SNX like they did on layer 1, but on layer 2 instead. So they're not paying double rewards, but it does work for some apps because Uniswap's not actually paying for liquidity right now, right? It's not paying Uni rewards on layer 1. So why not just do it on layer 2, bootstrap that ecosystem, right? You might bleed from layer 1 to layer 2, but that's fine. I actually have like this theory that, and I think I've mentioned on the Refuel a few times, where I think, the end state is that layer 2 is just going to be where everyone lives, right? You're just going to offboard to a centralized exchange from layer 2, right? If you want to go to fiat, you're probably never going to have to go to layer 1. And in reality, most users won't be able to afford layer 1 anyway, because layer 1's always going to be more expensive. And, depending on how much the network is used, layer 1's going to be super expensive one day, even in ETH2. So I think living in layer 2, being secured by Ethereum is going to be the play. And because of that, this is just growing pains. I think the end state is that the liquidity on layer 1 will eventually migrate to layer 2. There'll be specific things that you want to do on layer 1 that you can't really do on layer 2. Maybe like, flash loans and stuff like that, right? Maybe we don't kind of get that in layer 2 for a while, or maybe ever, just depending on how it plays out there. So yeah, interesting idea here from Samyak. I think, this kind of stuff's going to keep happening, and more people are going to talk about it, because it's obviously like, as we move to layer 2, people are questioning about the adoption, how to get, the same stuff that we have on layer 1 on there, how do we get the same liquidity on there, and, these kind of like ideas are going to keep sprouting, I think. So Yearn Finance today announced a new program called Yearn Partners. Basically what this is, and they kind of have a TLDR here, is that Yearn Partners aims to make Yearn Vaults accessible from virtually anywhere. Any protocol that integrates Yearn Vaults can earn up to a 50% profit share from their contributed TVL. Think of it like a white label solution for Y Vaults. So they give an example of how it kind of can work here. So basically, step 1 would be you deploy a wrapper token. You deploy wrapper token contracts that wrap your regular Y Vault token for each vault, and then your users receive this wrapper token rather than the standard Y Vault token when they deposit. And then your users, if it's your app, can then deposit, withdraw to Y Vaults from your interface, and there's no need for them to send them anywhere else or charge extra fees on top. And then the wrapper allows Yearn to easily verify the contributed TVL from the app, and use that to give obviously the 50% profit share there. And Yearn Partners will collect the payments on a monthly basis. Now, I guess the super TLDR here is that if you're an app, right, and you have like a kind of thing where you want to create kind of like do a wrapper around like a Y Vault, say you're like a front end that wants to tap into Yearn, right, you can basically wrap your implementation of it around a Yearn Vault, have people put TVL into your wrapped version of it, and then you get a profit share. That's basically what it is, which I think is really cool, because this is a really good way to bootstrap more TVL for Yearn. Because if people are going to tap into Yearn's TVL anyway, why not incentivize them to do it in a much bigger way? There's already kind of apps like, I guess, Argent that do this, that kind of like have a layer on top of Yearn and kind of tap into it. Kind of like anyone can do this, right? Not just that. I mean, there's Alchemix now that's doing it. I think there's a few other apps as well. I mean, they should be, rewarded for that. And I think, Yearn doing this is kind of a signal that they agree with that. So I think that's really, really cool. And it's just going to make Yearn's TVL explode. So it's just like a net win, right? It's kind of like, I mean, maybe it's not exactly like a referral fee, but Yearn loses kind of nothing by doing this, because, even though they're paying 50% profit share, they're getting more TVL anyway. So it'll net out to being better. And they kind of like further cement their network effects and their moat here as being like the yield aggregator of choice for kind of DeFi. So very interesting move here. I really liked it. You can go check out the thread for a full description of how this all works in the YouTube description below. So I actually, this was posted a couple of days ago, but Coinbase posted this on Twitter recently. They did a really great piece here on the rise of the Ethereum economy. Now, the reason why I'm pointing this particular piece out is because it's on Coinbase's kind of like learn section, where it's going to reach a lot more people than, a lot of other people are going to reach. Because Coinbase has millions, I think, of monthly active users, right? They're going to reach like different people that, maybe someone like me and someone like, I guess, like the Bankless guys and a lot of other Ethereum people on Twitter aren't going to reach. And what this piece does, and I definitely recommend giving it a read, it basically goes through like as the title implies, the rise of the Ethereum economy, how Ethereum has evolved, how DeFi has evolved, how NFTs have evolved, what Ethereum's metrics look like, stable coins, all this sort of stuff. And it kind of gives like a really great, I think, snapshot of Ethereum as it, existed in the past and as it exists today, and how you can see that it's growing like at a rapid pace. And they also talk about institutional adoption of Ethereum, kind of Grayscale's ETH holdings as well. So, them buying the actual ETH, the asset, kind of how Ethereum is evolving, because obviously the gas fees are high, but they're talking about optimism here and roll-ups in general. And basically they finish off with ETH2 here. So I thought this was just, a perfect way to kind of like get up to date on what's happening with the Ethereum economy, what's happening with Ethereum, for people that maybe don't pay much attention. Because, we need much more education around Ethereum, if I'm being honest. I try to do my best, but we need it from people who have different audiences more than anything. That's why I'm always excited when, I see stuff like Mark Cuban, and I've spoken about before, how he went on a couple of podcasts, and he kind of like, he went on the Defiant and Bankless podcast and kind of showed his knowledge, right? And it doesn't matter that he was basically talking to people already in the ecosystem on those podcasts. What matters is that he has that knowledge, right? He knows what he's talking about. And then in his other circles, he can go on and be an evangelist for Ethereum there. So really, really cool stuff. And I'm always a big advocate for this. So thanks to Coinbase for putting this together. Go read it. It'll be in the YouTube description for you to check out. So Tim Kang, who's famous for a lot of the NFT kind of artist work he's been doing, he put out a tweet today. He basically says, if you're coming into NFTs without empowering artists with a 50% plus share, squeezing money as a middleman because of your network, already rich and still greedy, or ignoring the value of community, you are the antithesis of our ethos and can kindly go away. I mean, he says it in other words, but I'll just say that. So I am kind of getting this feeling too lately in the NFT space, is that there's a lot of value extractors right now, right? Where they'll come in because they see money, they see dollar signs, they'll do whatever, they'll make millions of dollars, right? And then they'll just exit the ecosystem. They don't keep it in the ecosystem, right? They're not going to be funding Gitcoin grants with their, their proceeds. They're not going to be giving back to the ecosystem. They're going to take their money and run, because this to them is like a gold rush. And this is exactly the same thing that we saw play out in 2017 with ICOs, where pretty much like I would say 90+% of the money raised was so wasted. It was just so bad. It got completely kind of like extracted out of the ecosystem. It is a major reason why ETH dumped as hard as it did. And to be fair, it's probably a major reason why ETH went up as hard as it did as well, because obviously you needed ETH to participate in ICOs. So, I mean, as a clear example here, you had EOS do a year-long ICO, and you know what they did with that ETH? They raised millions of ETH. You know what they did with it? And you can see it on chain. They dumped it all, right? And now they have 0 ETH, and they have like these massive Bitcoin holdings. So basically what they did is that during the bear market, they just kept dumping their ETH, right? Consistently, relentlessly, and then they just bought Bitcoin with it. And EOS as a platform is basically like, doesn't even really do anything now. It's kind of dead, right? It's a zombie chain. So essentially the EOS, or Block One, the company who made EOS, completely extracted all this value out of the Ethereum ecosystem by, first getting all the ETH and then dumping it on everyone, right? So that's just a clear example. And I'm seeing the same stuff play out in the NFT space right now, which is really sad, because there's a lot of good stuff going on as well. There's a lot of empowering of artists going on. There's a lot of, not just artists as in like, drawing or whatever like that, like actually like music artists and things like that as well. There's a lot of that going on, but I feel like because of the fact that there's dollar signs, right? People are making millions of dollars overnight. We're going to get tons of opportunists come in. And, I'm not going to say it's going to be a bubble or not a bubble. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I do know a lot of money is going to be wasted on absolute crap. 90+% of NFTs are going to be worth 0, right? They're not going to have secondary market value. No one's going to want to buy them. The hype's going to go completely away. There'll be, there'll be a healthy chunk, I think, of NFTs that will retain their value. But most of the stuff I'm seeing right now, I'm just looking at it and thinking, who's going to buy this, right? Like, who's going to buy this in a bear market? In a bull market, it's different because everyone's speculating. But in a bear market, who's going to want to scoop this up, even if it's cheap? Like, who wants who sees the value in this? So yeah, I'm kind of like taking pause right now with the NFT space because while it's not nowhere near as crazy as the ICO kind of craze was, it has the signs. And I feel like the next time we have like a massive leg up in, I guess, like the ETH and BTC prices, we're going to see the NFT kind of space just explode even more. And it's just going to be so much more value extraction instead of, value added to the ecosystem, which is unfortunate. But, we can't control it, right? This is a permissionless platform. All I can do is inform, my audience about the kind of like what I kind of see happening and kind of like learning from history. Don't buy, and on that note, this isn't advice, like investment advice in general. It's just like general advice. Don't buy an NFT, that you don't kind of, I guess, feel like is going to be valuable, right? If you're buying it just to purely speculate on it and to flip on secondary markets, you better know what you're doing because it's very easy to get wrecked because there's things like, what I'm seeing lately is these things called open editions where an NFT can be issued up to 10,000 times on a platform, and the creator sets a price. Say they set a price of like $1,000 per NFT, and they say it's an open edition, so 10,000 of them can be minted. People just go and mint like all of these, right? They mint like a crap ton of these open editions, and then there's a timer, so it will eventually close, and then the creator makes a shit ton of money, right? They make millions of dollars. And then the people who bought, right, I'm assuming a lot of them are just speculators hoping to flip it on secondary markets because it doesn't really have a value to it. It's the same piece, right? It's not like it's rare or anything. It's the same piece, and it's just the numbers just different on it, right? So and very few of those are going to retain their value. I think something like Beeple's work, might retain its value or has a higher chance to because he's a huge kind of creator. He's been doing it for like ages, right? And he has a massive following, and he wasn't just like, I guess, chasing the trend as much because he was like one of the early people who did it. But, I'm seeing so many artists come in now, and a lot of them coming in from Instagram, and they have followings there, and they're just like taking their existing work, turning it into NFTs and making all this money. And that to me is just complete value extraction. I'm all for people making money off their work, but if they might, at the moment it seems like they're making money off speculators, which speculators, they can do whatever they want with their money. It's just like, it just reminds me of the ICO kind of boom there. So I won't, go on about too much like that. And I'm not saying, the whole space is bad or anything, but just be cautious, right? Be aware of what you're buying, make sure that you know what you're buying. Make sure that you know that if you buy an NFT, it doesn't have to be worth anything. No one has to buy it off you. It can go to zero. So it's kind of like investing in a token, so to speak. But I think even worse, because if you think about it, if you buy an NFT, right, it's not liquid. There's no Uniswap pool for it or anything. So if you kind of like put it up for sale, right, and no one kind of comes and bids on it, then you get zero for it. At least with a token that you buy on the market, right, say it even goes down 90% after you buy it, you can still sell it for something. But with an NFT, you basically get zero if no one bids on it because there's not like a Uniswap liquidity pool for it. There's not like an exchange listing for it and all that sort of stuff. So it's even worse if you buy the wrong thing. So yeah, just be aware of that. I think that's very important to kind of keep in mind. So Matthew Graham, who kind of like works in the Index Co-op community, posted a Twitter thread today about the Index Co-op publishing a treasury report. Now, disclaimer here, I am an advisor to Set, who is heavily involved with the Index Co-op, and I own Index Co-op tokens, of course. But I thought this was really, really awesome because a treasury report for a DAO, like the Index Co-op is a DAO, right? It's a decentralized autonomous organization that the community members have produced a financial report about it, and you can see it here. I mean, this is just, I think, kind of like a snapshot of it, right? A snapshot TLDR of it. I think there's like kind of like more expanded on piece, but I don't know if it's linked here actually. It might be linked somewhere else. But yeah, basically what it shows is like, I guess like the Index Co-op, like what it is, the token, what the price is, kind of stuff like that. A general overview of how they went with Q1, right? Quarter one, January and February. And I think, I guess like maybe, what are they including in this? December, January, February. The income, the treasury, kind of like what the treasury consists of, the staking rewards that have been paid out, and then an income statement and things like that. I mean, I think this is awesome because this is basically what I guess you could say traditional companies do outside of crypto, but this has been done by a DAO. This has been done purely by these community members who are basically saying, we should professionalize, right? And, the Index Coop isn't the first kind of one to do this. I think Yearn did one as well. And I think this is just a really great way to signal to people that might be interested in getting involved with different kind of DAOs and communities, which projects are really serious about it and which ones aren't. Because you want to know what the finances are like, right? You want to have a snapshot. You want to see how it's growing. You want to see, if the DAO is actually paying out for work, how much the treasury has in it of specific tokens and things like that. So I thought this is just really, really cool here. And as you can see, Matt posts here the financial statement. You can actually see there's the revenue that each index made. You can see DPI made all this revenue. The CGI, which is the newest index, just got released, so it hasn't made anything yet. I don't even know if there's a fee on it yet. But then you can see the gross profit, right? You can see the expenses. This is just really, really awesome and a great way to keep track of how the different kind of projects are doing when they issue a kind of report like this. So yeah, kudos to Matt and the other people who worked on this within the Index Coop for putting this out there. So Vitalik posted a, I guess, ETH research post to Twitter today. Basically, I guess he posted he posted this post a few days ago, 5 days ago now. But basically, it is a design for a cross roll-up decentralized exchange, which I'm not going to read out here, but there's a lot of good discussion in this thread about it. It gets pretty technical, and you can go read it for yourself. But this goes back to what I was saying before about how, we're going to, I guess, lose a bit of composability with layer 2, right? Because if there's different roll-ups, then to talk to each other, they're going to have bridges, and it's not going to be instant. It's not going to be like it is on layer 1 Ethereum. Now, this proposal from Vitalik basically says, why don't we do a cross roll-up decentralized exchange with smart contracts only on the destination side? And he kind of talks through it here. I'm not going to go through how it works because you do have to read it. It can get a little bit complex here. But it's really great to see that, people like Vitalik are already thinking of these solutions, right? As I was saying before, Samyak thought of an idea, Vitalik's thought of an idea. I've seen plenty of other ideas out there of how to solve these problems that we know are going to come once layer 2 gets kind of adoption here. And that's critically important, right? Critically important for users, important for devs, important for liquidity, and important for retaining the properties that make Ethereum what Ethereum is. So yeah, definitely go check out this kind of post that he put on ETH Research here. So speaking of layer 2, dYdX put out a little bit of an update about their layer 2 exchange. They had 83,000 users sign up to the waitlist, which is huge. It's funny, actually, there's a chart here of the waitlist by region, and you can see here that most of it was from Asia, and then Europe was second, North America was third. The reason why North America here is third is because the US can't actually use dYdX unless they use a VPN or something like that. But some people signed up anyway just to, I guess, try their luck here. But it's really interesting to see that Asia accounts for 86% of the waitlist and Europe is only 9%. I would have figured Europe would kind of pick up, the slack that North America was kind of I guess not kind of doing here. And then you can see Oceania here, which I think is Australia and New Zealand, only 556 people or 1%. So, it's funny, 83,000 people seems like a lot, but it's not really, right? We have millions and millions and tens of millions of people still left to come into the ecosystem as well, which was kind of a funny kind of thing for me to see as well. So, yeah, this is awesome. I haven't gotten access to the layer 2 exchange yet. I'm just itching to because I really want to play around with it. I really want to see how fast it is, how the whole experience is. Obviously, there's videos you can watch and stuff like that, but that's not the same thing. And I think Darren from Darren Lau, he put, or Law, I don't know how to pronounce his surname, but he put out a tweet thread basically about his experience, I think, which was really cool. And basically, it was a smooth experience, and it was funny because there was only a $100 limit, and you could 25x long on that and stuff. So it was really funny to see that play out. But yeah, especially in Asia, it was actually the most signups came from China, which was curious, right? I kind of think that there's this barrier between Asia and the West when it comes to, I guess, crypto, where a lot of the Asian ecosystem, a lot of the Western ecosystem doesn't really kind of talk to each other, right? Because there's a language barrier, right? But I don't think that's the only thing. There's also a cultural barrier too, where I've seen on Twitter discussions about it. I'm not going to go into it, but I've seen on Twitter discussions about it where there's a tiny bit of culture wars going on, and I don't know why that is. I don't really care to do any culture wars, whatever. I didn't care where you're from. Like, we're all Ethereum citizens at the end of the day to me. But on that note, it's just really interesting to see that somewhere like China was actually kind of first here. And it's funny that they split out China and Hong Kong here as well, if you know what I mean by that. But then came in Russia. Again, it's just, I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, China and Russia, right, are the countries that you maybe wouldn't expect to see on this list. Did people just use VPNs and sign up from, a VPN in China or Russia? I don't know. Maybe there is that many people from these countries kind of like wanting to get in here. But then you had like a bunch of others like Singapore, Ukraine, Vietnam, which, to be expected there. So yeah, really interesting kind of thread here from dYdX. You can go check out the full one in the YouTube description if you kind of want to read the whole thing. And there's a poll here. What language should we support next on dYdX? Which language should I vote for? I don't know, maybe Spanish, because there's a lot of Spanish people in the Ethereum community. Look, Spanish one, or other one. Maybe let's check the comments, see what people said. Malaysia, Chinese, please. I mean, if they don't already support Chinese, which I think they do. I mean, I was gonna say if they didn't already support Chinese, then it'd be quite surprising. But anyway, I'm rambling a little bit here. I think that's it for today's episode, everyone. So thank you again for listening and watching. Be sure to give that video a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel, join the Discord channel, subscribe to the newsletter, and I'll catch you all next week. And don't forget, there's a Daily Gwei data pump video going out this weekend, so be sure to watch out for that. But yeah, the refuel will be back next Monday. Thanks, everyone.